Good evening, folks, and welcome back to the ARCA Racing Podcast. Yes, back on a Tuesday here as we come to you guys with our West Series review of Portland and our West Series preview of Sonoma. Yes, it is a ARCA West Series show today, one of the very few times over the course of the 2023 season that we'll be just specifically talking about the ARCA Menard Series West. So I'm proud to bring you guys some fun West Series coverage. We got a fun show for you guys today, a very fun race out in Portland, and a very, very fun race looking forward to this weekend in Sonoma. I'm going to go through my little intro I go through at the beginning of every podcast, and then we will get right into the ARCA West action. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media at Start and Parker on Twitter for all the ARCA news and lower budget team news and lower budget fun facts. All that crap you guys know I love to tweet. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for all notifications so you guys never miss a podcast when I go live. And, of course, check out theracingexperts.com for all NASCAR media-related content. Sorry, I'm just a little under the weather, so if you see me sneezing a little bit, not feeling the best. But let's get right into it, shall we? The ARCA West Series, a big couple of weeks for them. They were in Portland. Now, you guys may have seen some tweets of mine. I don't hate the Portland track. I think it's a very fun road course. It looks fun to drive on, that's for sure. It's such a long haul out for these teams. Obviously, for the ARCA West teams, it's not that bad. But for the Xfinity Series, I don't know, man. We'll get into more of that in the backmarker battles. Portland is a very fun track, but I don't know if it just belongs on the NASCAR schedule, is what I'm trying to say. But for the ARCA West Series, they've been going there for a long time, even back to the Winston West Series days. It's a very fun road course. It's not a very big road course either. That's the one thing I've noticed about Portland is it doesn't take that long to get around. It doesn't take that necessarily that long to get around the track. At most, a minute and a half looking at practice speeds. At most a minute and a half, even for the slower cars. I mean, these guys were getting around here in 72 seconds. So about the same time it would take maybe about for Watkins Glen and around Sonoma. It's definitely a high-speed road course. And those are the road courses that I tend personally, I don't know how you guys personally feel, but personally, in my opinion, a high-speed road course, in my opinion, is a better road course. Not to say I don't like Sonoma. I do, but I prefer a very high-speed road course where these guys just fly into corners, have to outbrake each other, and then fly into another corner. I think it's really entertaining, and that's why Watkins Glen, I've said it multiple times on this show, Watkins Glen is my favorite short track. We have the ARCA West Series. This was round number 4 of 11 races this season. A very solid entry list. We only had 16 cars for this race last year, so seeing 24 here was a very awesome improvement. We did have a couple of oddball entries. I knew we would probably get some Xfinity guys in the field because, extra laps are extra laps considering, simulator time. I don't know if Portland is on the simulator, so I think it was very smart for a couple of these guys to get some extra laps. We had Xfinity guys Parker Retzloff in the 02 for Young's Motorsports. Riley Herbst driving the 5 for Jerry Pitts. Dylan Lupton, who was driving for Tommy Joe Martins, he was in the 24 and another Bill McAnally entry. Kyle Sieg, obviously, who drives for RSS, he was in the 46 for Loudon Jackson, and Cole Custer, who was driving the 55 for Tim Huddleston's High Point Racing, the former Sunrise Ford team. So, yeah, we had a couple of Xfinity guys in the field getting some extra laps. I would definitely say that's a smart move. Like I said, extra laps can't hurt, especially when you're in decent cars. And these guys were in decent cars for sure. Practice speeds, we kind of picked – a lot of people had picked Cole Custer as the favorite to win this race due to his awesome length of experience. Now, practice speeds were a little iffy. For some reason, it said Todd Souza ran a 72-second lap in practice. For some reason, this was never corrected, even though it clearly multiple reports clearly stated that the 13 had cut some part of the track, and there's just no way that Todd Souza ran that fast. There's just no way. So, unfortunately, those practice results are skewed. Todd Souza was not 5 seconds faster than the field, no matter how awesome that would have been. No. So, that lap was kind of discarded. Relatively, Sean Hingorani was actually the fastest in practice. Which is not unshocking. Venturini builds great cars no matter which kind of track they go to. Road courses, super speedways, short tracks. Venturini, they know what they're doing. So, no shocking he was second. Cole Custer, even though the High Point team is not considered one of the top teams of the ARCA West Series, you had to think with just having Cole Custer in there, having Cole Custer in there would have definitely give that car more of a chance of winning for sure. So he was second. William Sawalich, in one of his rare West Series appearances, he's going to be doing 2 straight West Series appearances. He was in the 18 this weekend. He was 4th. Landon Lewis was 5th. Tanner Reif was 6th. Dale Quarterly was 7th. Parker Retzlaff was 8th. Trevor Huddleston was 9th. And Riley Herbst was 10th. Some of the other notables in the field, championship competitors, Tyler Reif was down in 11th. Bradley Erickson down in 12th. And Kyle Sieg was all the way down in 21st. Dylan Lupton was down in 22nd. Now, Kyle Sieg only made 1 lap of practice. I believe they had some motor troubles. We did have 2 actual casualties in practice that unfortunately did not make it to the race. The 4 of Eric Nascimento. It has it listed as Eric, but I think it was Ethan Nascimento in the 04. It was Ethan Nascimento in the 04. Yeah, that's right, not Eric. Ethan in the 04, he unfortunately lost a motor in practice, but with no spare, they had to withdraw. And Roxali Camper, hopefully I'm pronouncing that name correctly, she blew up a motor in the 39. Unfortunately for Tuttle, Andrew Tuttle's team in the 39, that is now 3 consecutive motors that they have blown up in their last 3 attempts. So for, the Last Chance Racing team, it's really been a struggle for Andrew Tuttle in the last year. And overall, financially, that team, for some rumblings, the deal with Ryan Roulette did not end well at all. I can't get into why, but it did not end well. Last Chance Racing's not doing that, not doing very good. And I feel bad for Roxala, only 1 lap out there, but that's racing sometimes. So that sucked to see 2 cars get taken out of the race in practice, not due to crashes, just due to motor failures. And obviously with the budget that a lot of these teams have. I mean, I don't think really any of the teams in this series have backup motors that are on hand. So they unfortunately had to withdraw, leaving us down with 22 cars for the race. Come qualifying time, that was when you guys really got to get up on the wheel, get that good lap in. Really showed who was going to be the favorites for the race. Landon Lewis stepped up to the game. And with Ron Hornaday as your driver coach, and we know Ron Hornaday was good on the road courses, so it's not shocking to see Landon Lewis win the pole. He was on the pole. Sean Hingorani was 2nd. Cole Custer was 3rd. William Sawalich was 4th. Kind of a repeat of practice. They were all right next to each other. Parker Retzlaff was 5th. Riley Herbst was 6th. Trevor Huddleston was 7th. Tyler Reif was 8th. Caleb Schrader. This was another McAnally. McAnally, we had talked about, they're only running 1 car full time this year. But they really brought the heat for this race. They brought the 99 for Caleb Schrader, no relation to Ken Schrader, and they brought the 24 for Dylan Lupton. So, bringing a couple extra cars was the Bill McAnally team. Unfortunately, they didn't register to still very much speed. Even the main entry for them was down in 12th. And a couple of cars decided not to take practice laps. Like I said, the Nascimento team, they were having issues all over the place. The 04 blew up, and the 4 in general was not good in practice. The 46, I'm not sure if they had to go through a motor change, but like I said, Kyle Sieg only got 1 lap of practice. So he did not, unfortunately, make a practice lap. So only 20 cars took an actual qualifying run. Some other notes though, Kyle Keller was in the 70, but supposedly the 70 was actually being fielded by Last Chance Racing this week, and they had posted about that on their Facebook. Now, to my knowledge, though, this was the first race of the season where Kyle Keller was in a Chevrolet. What we had usually seen out of Kyle Keller was that he was a teammate over at Jerry Pitts Racing with Takuma Koga. He ran the 12 last year in some of the last races of the season and started off the season running the 70 as a teammate to Takuma Koga. But randomly for this race, he was in a Chevrolet running under Last Chance Racing. So thought that was kind of ironic. Not sure if this was a one-shot deal because we had someone else running for Jerry Pitts, or if the deal with Jerry Pitts is done for them. I would hate that because I think, all due respect to Last Chance Racing, it's definitely a huge step down for Kyle Keller, who has clearly shown that he's got the talent. So that kind of sucks for him. But he definitely did not run as competitive as I thought. I see some people in the chat saying he still runs his own cars, but I mean, I could have swore I had some people tell me that he was running under Jerry Pitts Racing. Maybe he was running his own cars under Jerry Pitts Racing. I don't know. I just heard that he had a combination ship with Jerry Pitts Racing in the past. But yeah, the clear-cut favorites for this race was the top five. The top five were separated by over a second. But in this track, you just never know who's going to pull out in front. It's all about that clean air sometimes on these road courses. But again, we were coming into this race, and it's like, man, the mighty Joe Gibbs Racing. Were they running Ilmores in this race, or were they running the Yates motors? We don't know that for sure. We know a lot of ARCA teams might use the Yates motors on the road courses because they are just a lot better than the Ilmores on the road courses. Most of the time they just use the Ilmores for high-speed tracks and then the Yates for the short tracks and road courses. But yeah, the 18 definitely not showing the race-winning speed. And unfortunately in the race, kind of a spoiler, the 18 we wouldn't even get a chance to see what we would have had for race-winning speed as Sawalich destroyed his car 5 laps into the race. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, the race started. Unfortunately, if you guys obviously don't know, I was in Gateway helping out Hill Motorsports, so I missed this race live. But the funny part is I actually was able to catch the last 18 laps of this race. We were at a team dinner. If you guys saw my tweet, we were at a team dinner at Longhorn Steakhouse, and I knew I had a Flow Racing account. And I'm wondering, I wonder if the ARCA race is still on. So I pulled up the ARCA race, and the rest of the gang, me and Tyler Hill, Timmy's brother, we watched the rest of the ARCA West race together. I had no sound, so I couldn't hear Charlie crawl, but we watched the rest of the ARCA West race while we were eating dinner, which was pretty fun. Actually, that was fun. So I caught the last 18 laps, but I couldn't live tweet because we were eating. But yeah, the race started. Like I said, 22 started as the 04 and the 39 did not start the race. Landon Lewis pulls out to a pretty decent-sized lead as they get into the first couple laps. But as tires come up, the 15 is not letting him get away. Sean Hingorani showing himself as a clear-cut threat to the 17 of Landon Lewis. And I like that. I like the fact that we're seeing these, they might be in great equipment, but it's awesome seeing two young kids, young guys, we call them kids, young guys really battling it out. And I'll say they were doing it cleanly. In the first couple laps, they were racing each other very cleanly, and the 15 was not racing over his head until the last lap. And it kind of stabilized. The 17 was keeping the lead. 15 was in second. The 55 was in third. The 18 was fourth. It was kind of stabilized until about lap 5, when unfortunately going into, I want to say it was turn 1, the 55 of Cole Custer got forced off track by the 18 of William Sawalich. And somehow the 18, I don't know if the 55 brake checked him or what happened, but somehow the 55 had little to no damage. And yet the 18 is just utterly destroyed. He's literally driving a modified. I don't know if you guys saw photos of the 18 car. I don't know if they posted any, but the 18 was literally destroyed. The hood was cooked up. He couldn't see. Sawalich about wrecked it about 4 times trying to get it back to the pits. It was hilarious watching him trying to drive the car back to the pits. He legitimately could not see a thing, so he had to go by the track, seeing out the window net, and it's a road course. You don't have really any painted lines, and he was in the grass. He easily could have walled the thing, so I'm glad he got it back to the pits. And they basically had no choice. They ripped the hood off, they ripped the fender off, and sent him back out there. So it was kind of funny. You had an elite car, elite chassis, elite body, or elite engine, with little body work, and he's still out there hanging with half the field. Like he's got no front downforce whatsoever, and yet he's still running top 10 speeds. I love that. It's so funny to watch the higher competitive cars with damage still out there running with the mid-pack cars at perfect pace. So yeah, that ruined Sawalich's day. He lost 2 laps in the pits. It's like the violence, just once the violence started on track, it just kept getting worse. As 2 laps later, we had a very vicious crash. I'd have to imagine that the 13 of Todd Souza lost his brakes because he went flying into the tire barricades, shades of Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, and Cole Witt, who have all had horrible crashes there. But Todd Souza with a massive hit. And, man, I say it's been a rough year for Todd Souza. Pretty much every race this season has either been a disappointing finish or a crash in some way. So really sucks to see Todd Souza running this bad. And there's still a lot of rumbles that this might be his last year. He hasn't officially announced it, but there are some rumbles that this might actually be Todd Souza's final year in the West Series, which would really suck. He's kind of been the backbone of the West Series for a very, very long time. So he crashed out on lap 7, and literally one lap later, during the red flag, props to ARCA West for not running this race under caution. They decided to red flag the race, not waste laps. That was very kind by them, very smart idea by them not to do that. Just keep the race as many laps as possible and red flag it. And during that red flag, the 24 of Dylan Lupton literally just caught on fire. The brakes started erupting, and the car literally melted. Very rare times have you seen a car melt. This car, I'm not lying to you guys, it literally melted. The nose caught on fire, then the hood caught on fire, and then the whole thing just caught on fire. And if you go to Tommy Joe Martins' Twitter, you can actually probably still find a photo of the car, and this thing is literally melted. I mean, it's going to need a lot of work. So Dylan Lupton's day was over. So like I said, we had lost 2 cars there. It was a break for William Sawalich, as he was the only car a lap down at the time. No starting parks in this race, by the way. He was the only car a lap down at the time, so he was able to get 1 of his 2 laps back. Again, props to them for not wasting so many laps. They got the race restarted fairly quickly. We're only under caution for 3 actual laps. The 17 of Landon Lewis holds the leads again going into the restart. Once again, the 15, the 55 hounding him, but he's able to keep the lead. 5 laps later, we have another unfortunate crash. 70 of Kyle Keller, like we had mentioned before. He went for a spin, but if you looked at the spin and you looked at a lot of the smoke, you realized that's not tire smoke. He spun in his own oil. Unfortunately, we had another engine failure. It looked like the 70 of Kyle Keller blew up, spinning in his own oil. And then, of course, the car was stalled on track, so they had to go get it. Sucks for Kyle Keller. Like I said, I really hope something will change with this season. I don't like this partnership with Last Chance Racing. He deserves better, in my opinion. But yeah, we were just losing cars like left and right at this point. We were already down to 19 cars. But there was another break for the 18 of William Sawalich because he now got his second lap back. So even though he was basically driving a modified, he was now back in the running. He was legitimately back in the running at this point. So it was good for them. But at this point, the key cars in the race were still the 17, the 15, and the 55. The only other cars that had really shown possible signs of being able to battle with the others was Bradley Erickson, but he got caught a lap down later in the race. Other than that, I don't think there was really anyone else who was probably going to win this race. Those 3 clearly had the best cars. Maybe Parker Retzlaff had he got out front, but I don't know. And then the deal came on short notice as well. Like this 0-2 deal with Parker Retzlaff came on short notice. So maybe if they had more time to prep the car, maybe they could have been a little bit better. But it was either going to be the 17, the 55, or the 15 that more than likely was going to end up winning this race. Just out of the first 13 laps were telling us. So the race went back under green. We had 9 laps of green flag action until the scheduled break. But we did have some lead changes here. Landon Lewis was passed right as we were going to caution from Riley Herbst. And I'll say it was really cool seeing Riley Herbst driving a completely unsponsored car. It was kind of surreal seeing one of the higher tier Xfinity guys driving a mid-pack car. I mean, Jerry Pitts Racing is a mid-pack team, and he brought that car all the way to the front. So shout out to Riley Herbst. He took the lead. Right as, again, they went to that caution for Kyle Keller. Came back from the restart. They would lead. Riley would pull out to a pretty decent-sized lead over Cole Custer, over Landon Lewis, again, setting themselves as the dominant cars of the race. But we noticed some faint smoke coming out of the 5 car as they kept running, some faint smoke. I thought maybe it was brake or some tire rubs, but as we would come to find out, something really bad was starting to happen to that car. So kind of like I said, nothing really happening here. Everybody kind of spread out at this point. Once we got a couple of laps, obviously with the ARCA West field, very different speeds in all these cars. So once we got a couple of laps after the restart, everybody had kind of spread out, running their own race, trying to, just like I said, make it to the end. We had a couple off tracks. The 14 of Davey Margus went off like 7 times. Still finished, luckily, but he went off a couple times. Some guys that were noticeably struggling. Both of the Loudon Jackson cars were really struggling. They had a tough day. The 41 broke a couple shocks early in the race. The 46 just had engine issues all day. So I don't know how much Kyle Sieg really learned. He was so slow the entire race. I don't think he even learned anything probably. The 05, he was slow. The 16 was remarkably slow. He went off track a couple times. Oh my God, I forgot they brought the 19. So yeah, literally 4 cars for this race for McAnally. So man, I can't believe that. They literally brought 4 cars for this race for Bill McAnally Racing, which is really surprising considering we really have only seen 1 this year. I literally just realized that, guys, looking at the results. But yeah, so we had the scheduled caution come out. We did have a couple of cars actually go a lap down. The 05 of David Smith did manage to actually go a lap down on the road course. But he would end up getting the free pass anyway. Again, this was a scheduled caution for teams to change tires and obviously add the fuel needed to make it to the finish of the race. By lap 31, we had one more casualty, the 52 of Ryan Philpott, who's been kind of a long-term driver for ARCA West Series action. Usually just comes out for the road courses. He fell out with another engine failure. So yeah, a lot of engine failures. A lot of engine failures in this race, and that's the problem with road courses and these small series. A lot of these ARCA West teams, when they go to road courses, it's very hard on the equipment. All those shifts, it's very hard on old motors, so they'll tend to blow up, unfortunately. We came back from a scheduled caution break, went back to green on lap 33, which saw our 3rd lead change of the race, and it was the mighty Cole Custer, and this is really where the race went into Custer's hands. When he got out front, he took off, and I mean pulled away. While the 5 was kind of staying there with him, the 55 was continuing to pull away, and the smoke from the 5 car that we had mentioned earlier was starting to get worse and worse and worse. The 17 of Landon Lewis and the 15 of Hingarani were able to keep up with him, but they were kind of in their own battle. We didn't really have any other off-track excursions other than the 02. The 18 of William Sawalich had somehow managed to climb his way back into the higher parts of the top 10. He was running like 6th or 7th somehow with a modified car, like I said. And then, unfortunately, the smoke would get worse, and eventually something blew up. It didn't appear to be the engine because he made it back to the pits just fine. If the engine had blown up, he wouldn't have made it back to the pits. But it was eventually reared to be rear end grease. Something in the rear end had blown up in the 5. And it was a shame for Riley Herbst. Even in the ARCA West series, Riley Herbst cannot buy any luck. Like that sucks. Even in the ARCA West series, Riley Herbst cannot buy luck and gets another DNFs. Oh boy, that really sucks because they had a race winning car. So Riley Herbst's day was done. He would officially finish 18th. And literally 1 lap later, we had another car go out, the 46 of Kyle Sieg. Like I said, he had a tough day. I think by the time he had pulled off track, he was already 3 laps down just due to being slow and engine problems. So it was a long day for the 46. But yeah, the 55 had it in hand. I'll say he did. He had a 5-second lead. Hingarani was 2nd. Lewis was 3rd. And there was going to be no challenge for the lead without a caution. There was no way they were going to catch him. Cole Custer was running nice, clean, smooth laps. The entire field by this point was pretty spread out. We were down to just 16 cars. So like I said, the entire field was pretty spread out. And then we called it. We had the caution. The 4 of Eric Nascimento, like I said, long weekend for the poor Nascimento team. The 4, which had engine issues in practice. The car had another oil leak, oil all over the car, so he had to park it on track. So that caused another yellow. The 41 of Tyler Reif, who was also having a very poor performance. Definitely not the best weekend for Loudon Jackson Motorsports. Arguably probably their worst performance this entire season so far in terms of on-track performance. But we lost them a lap later. So the 4 and the 41 were casualties in the race. The 16 had to go behind the wall a couple laps. So rough day for some of the higher teams in the series. Loudon Jackson had a tough day. And overall, Bill McAnally really didn't have a good day. Their part-time cars ended up outrunning the full-time car. The 16 of Tanner Reif just had a really, really bad day. We went back green. Davey Margus got the free pass, which left us with 10 cars on the lead lap. Went back going green again. Lewis was hanging right there with the 55, but we had a quick caution come back out. The 41, like I said, Tyler Reif, we lost him a lap later. He would stop on track. Again, with, I believe, another broken, it was a broken shock, I believe. Maybe it was just a rookie, didn't want to drive it back, but they determined it was a broken shock on the 41 car. And so, yep, we'll rack him up again and send him back. The 88 of Bradley Erickson, this is the break they needed. They had gone a lap down. So they took the time to put on some fresh tires. And the 88 was on a mission. He went from, there were 14 cars left. So he went from the back of the field all the way up to 6th in 2 laps, mainly because he was on fresh tires. But yeah, we came back to green, the final restart, and the 17's hanging right there with him. And Landon Lewis manages to clear Cole Custer. Now you can tell Custer's in desperation mode. He's starting to overdrive every corner. And the 17, while he's not pulling away, he's still holding the lead. White flag comes out. And this was just pure experience. Cole Custer pulls the 55 to the side. And I will say it came down to pure experience. The 17, sorry. I'm used to say 41 because of his cup days. The 55 just simply outbraked the 17 into turn 1. He gets the lead, but the 17 pulls the crossover on him and manages to retake the lead back. I love it. Nice, clean, hard racing by these guys. And while it looked like the 55 might have a chance through the other chicanes, when they came onto the long back straightaway, Custer missed the corner, went high, and the 17 pulled away to a 1-second lead. And I'm like, that's it. Somehow Cole Custer managed to throw away of ARCA West Series victory, and he couldn't get back towards him. And actually managed to fall back to 4th because the 15 and the 50 both got past him. But then, unfortunately, Sean Hingorani made kind of a little dumb move, turned himself and the 50, turned himself around. The 50 got blocked in by him on the final corner, literally on the final corner. Apparently saying the transmission broke on the 55. I don't know if that was the case because he literally was keeping up perfect speed for a transmission issue. And they both finished outside the top 10. The 15 and the 50 is what I was referencing. They both literally finished outside the top 10, 11th and 12th. So the rest of the field got 2 free spots. Landon Lewis went on to win. His first career win of 2023? I think his second overall. Cole Custer ended up second. Dale Quarterly, out of nowhere, would finish third. I did not see that coming. So Dale Quarterly would finish third. That's awesome. Quarterly getting the top 3. William Sawalich in the modified. Like I said, he was on a mission. I think he had gotten fresh tires or something because he was on a mission. 4th place in the modified. Never give up. 5th for Parker Retzlaff. Bradley Erickson, 6th. Caleb Schrader was the highest finishing McAnally entry in 7th. Takuma Koga, another solid top 10 finish. Davey Margus, 9th. And the other part-time McAnally entry, the 19 of Eric Johnson Jr., 10th. Like I said, Sean Hingorani down to 11th and Trevor Huddleston down in 12th. That is not what they needed for the championship battle. That's for sure. And David Smith, 13th, and Tanner Reif, 14th. Those were the cars that finished, and we had already went over the cars that DNF'd. So, yeah, very wild finish to the race. Would have been awesome to see if Dale Quarterly could have won, but the fact that he got a top 3 is still awesome. Sucks for Cole Custer, man. Literally, it's kind of weird when you see, these ARCA West guys, like in the race at Sonoma, when you actually see the ARCA West guys beat the Xfinity or Cup regulars. It's very rare, but it does happen sometimes, and it's fun to see these young kids in lesser teams taking down these Cup guys, and it really shows that, these Cup guys are mighty, but even in these lower divisions, these guys know how to race them very hard. And I'm telling you, with the right people behind him, which he does have, I think Landon Lewis can really be something in this sport. He's got Team Hornaday development behind him, so he's got the endorsement of Ron Hornaday. And I'm telling you, with the endorsement of Ron Hornaday, I really hope this kid goes places. He's got the talent. He's shown it time and time again this year and the previous year that Landon Lewis definitely has the talent. He was picked to replace the 16 car for McAnally last year. Didn't quite have the success that we were kind of hoping for, but still did a great job. But yeah, overall, the race was very entertaining. Did it have its boring moments? Yes. Some road courses will have their boring moments, but overall, I still thought the race was absolutely fun to watch. For only 22 cars, ARCA West Series, they just, like I said, ARCA West Series always seems to put on great racing. And I feel like it's because the field is so matched over there. It really is a very matched up series. A lot of those teams don't run Ilmores. A lot of the West Circuit runs the Yates motors, which are noticeably cheaper to buy in terms of rebuilding them and buying them outright are cheaper than Ilmore. A lot of ARCA teams in general in the main division have also gone to Yates motors. It's kind of one thing you don't get here talked about enough. ARCA, Ilmore is not the main engine supplier of ARCA. A lot of the teams do run Yates motors, that's for sure. But not usually on the big tracks. I think it's more for short tracks and road courses. But yeah, race was fun. The standings coming out of this race, like I said, Landon Lewis retains the points lead, but due to the poor days of his competitors, has a huge points lead now. 24 points over Tyler Reif and Sean Hingorani, who are still tied for second. Bradley Erickson, minus 25 in fourth. Trevor Huddleston, minus 28 in fifth. Tanner Reif, minus 38 in sixth. Kyle Keller, minus 48 in seventh. Takuma Koga's also minus 48. Todd Souza is minus 56 in ninth, and David Smith, the final full-time competitor, in 10th, minus 56 as well. So, wow, he's definitely pulling away with the championship. And I will honestly say this right now, kind of like with the main series ARCA championship. If the 17 of Landon Lewis can just keep it clean the rest of the year, like literally if he finishes top 5 the rest of the year, that's your ARCA West Series champion. In this kind of a series, when you get more than 20 points behind, I would say it's nearly impossible. Nearly impossible. Only on weekends like this one coming up, where you have 30 car fields, could maybe challenge him. But can't get his name right. Sorry. Landon Lewis was also a beast at Sonoma last year. So I don't expect him to run bad this weekend either. So fun weekend at Portland. Don't know if NASCAR should go there, but perfect track for ARCA West. That's for sure. So fun weekend. And now we transition to the other ARCA West Series race that's going to be happening this weekend at Sonoma. Yes, you guys know the one that's a little bit more recognizable on the West Series schedule. Back when it was just the West Series and the Cup Series. And that's honestly wish it would still be. I don't like the Truck Series going there. I'm glad they stopped going. I wish the Xfinity Series didn't go there, because we got 7 guys running the Xfinity race. Kind of wish that hadn't happened, because imagine how many Cup guys will be running the ARCA race. I always enjoy it when you have the ARCA guys running against the Cup guys in the same race. That was fun. And it was always fun to see the West guys outrun the Cup guys in the same equipment. Sometimes even better equipment. They would still outrun them because they don't know how to drive these older cars. Like the car that Riley Herbst drove at Portland was over 10 years old. That's the cool part about this. The 5 car that Riley Herbst drove was over 10 years old. It's an old car, and it was leading the race. Like those are the stories like that. Stories like that are so cool. But we still got a very big field for this race. 30 cars. Again, we talked about car counts maybe not being the best, but an astounding 30 cars for this weekend's race at Sonoma. An awesome field. And we're going to go through it one by one, so bear with me for a second. We got Sebastian Arias back, but he's not driving for Eric Nascimento's team this weekend. He is actually driving for Rev Racing with the main series taking weekends off. They are going to be going West Series racing with Sebastian Arias in the 2, Eric Nascimento in the usual entry in the 4. Riley Herbst will return to Jerry Pitts Racing in the number 5. Jack Wood for Velocity Racing, the other Max Siegel entry in the 6. Takuma Koga, of course, in the 7. Johnny Bornham in the 3rd. Great to see him back in the number 8. Ryan Preece, not running the Cup race, Xfinity race, will be in the ARCA West race in the 9. This will be a Gene Haas-owned car. Todd Souza, of course, in the 13. Davey Margus in the 14. Sean Hingorani in the 15. Tanner Reif in the 16. Landon Lewis in the 17. William Sawalich in the 18. Eric Johnson Jr. in the 19. Ethan Nascimento in the 21 this week, so a number change over at Eric Nascimento's team. They've changed from 04 to 21. Bobby Hillis. The great news is they have gotten their sponsorship back. They have gotten their sponsorship back for this weekend. Camping World has come back on board. So this Bobby Hillis will be back for this weekend's race, which is awesome to see. Quarterman Dale Quarterly in the 32. Tyler Reif, of course, in the 41. Kyle Sieg is back again in the 46. Trevor Huddleston in the 50. Ryan Philpott in the 52. Cole Custer in the 55. Kyle Keller in the 70. Nick Jonades, the PP1 Motorsports Joe Nava team, is back again. Brian Comiskey in the 80. He usually comes out and runs these road course races. Sammy Smith. Now, this is one of the more interesting entries. Sammy Smith driving the 81 Oakley car for Shigi Hattori's team. By the way, if you haven't seen the car, go to Sammy Smith's Twitter right now and look at it. It is arguably, in my opinion, the most beautiful ARCA car of 2023. I'm not lying to you guys. If you go and look at Sammy Smith's Twitter and look at this car, it is absolutely gorgeous. If there was ever an ARCA West car that had to be a diecast, it would be this car. It is absolutely beautiful. But Shigi Hattori's team. Now, is this a full-on Shigi Hattori car? The only thing I can think of is we've seen problems before where Kyle Busch Motorsports had to take over the ARCA team of Joe Gibbs Racing due to the fact that FedEx and TMC could not be affiliated with the same organization. Is this the reason why Hattori is taking over the 81? Because Jordan and Oakley? I don't know. Does Jordan make sunglasses? I don't know. But it's really odd seeing the 81 here under Hattori. Is it because of Oakley? Not really sure why. I can't think of anything else other than why this would be fielded under Hattori Racing. Really have no idea why. It honestly doesn't make sense. I don't think it is a Hattori car. Either way, it's going to be a winning car. We know that. Great to see Sammy Smith back. It's kind of funny. You see these Cup guys getting more experience, but literally you have some more Xfinity guys running this race for more experience. But, cool to see Sammy Smith back in the ARCA series again. Tim Spurgeon, again, he usually runs the road course races. Bradley Erickson, and then, of course, the 0 entries, the 02 of Parker Retzlaff. He is back again. And David Smith. A very, very solid field of cars for this race. Very, very solid. And also, best news is no start and parks. None of these guys are going to start and park the race. Rod Nealon, that's kind of surprising too. He's a regular that runs the Sonoma race. So, but it's still a very solid field of cars. Like I said, no start and parks and a lot of race winning cars. I mean, right now, just looking at the entry list, we have the 02, the 81, the 55, 50, the 18, the 17, 15, 6, 5, and 2. I mean, that's 10 cars right there that I just listed that have a legit chance of winning this race. Actually, throw in the 9 of Ryan Preece. I forgot him. So make that 11. You got 11 legit cars who have a chance at this race. And usually what we've seen is the ARCA West race is the most wild and fun race of the entire weekend. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock. Yeah, wouldn't shock me the Stewart Haas is forcing their drivers to run. Well, you do remember Ryan Preece almost won this race back in 2019, but kind of got screwed out of it by poor officiating. That was back in the K&N days, though, not the ARCA days. But yeah, still going to be a fun entry list of cars. The payouts for this race kind of higher than most ARCA West Series races. First place is $10,000 with all contingency awards. First is $18,250. Second is $11,125, and third is $7,250. With 30 cars in the field, last place is $1,800, which is usually about $800 more than what they would usually pay. I don't think ARCA paid Bobby to show up. If Camping World is sponsoring the car, that's why Bobby is showing up. That's why Bobby didn't show up to Portland, was because Camping World was not sponsoring the car. So a little bit more money for the ARCA West guys this week, $1,800. Like we've said many times on the show, the payouts got to go up. I don't like seeing these guys only getting $1,800 when they're spending a minimum of $10,000 for the weekend. But unfortunately, that's just how it's been for all this time. Like I said, though, this is one of the very few weekends where we probably could see we could probably see the 17 lose some points in the championship, but I don't see that really happening. In this race last year, Landon Lewis finished top 5, I believe, in the 17 again last year. He was running this car last year. So I don't expect any problems with that. I think they're going to run just fine, which, hey, it's good for them. It's definitely good for that organization as a whole. The Owners' Championship battle, though, is also heating up. Owners' Championship battle here. Steve McGowan over Billy Venturini. Like I said, 24 points over Chris Loudon and Mike Nackey. So for Steve McGowan and MMI Motorsports, they arguably, I mean, when was the last time the 17 in general was this dominant? I mean, David Mayhew has not been really relevant in the series in 6-7 years. So it's been a long time since we've seen the MMI Motorsports team really this popular. Oh God, my top 5 pick for this race. Ooh, well, if I had to pick a top 5 for this race, race winning pick, I'm going to go with Sammy Smith. I'm going to go with Sammy Smith winning this race just because of his long-term Trans Am experience. I think he's the favorite to win. So I'm going to go with Sammy Smith to win. Custer second, Herbst third, Sawalich fourth, and I'll throw a wild card in there. I'll say Landon Lewis fifth. That'll be my top 5. So yeah, I'm quite curious to see why the 81 is a Hattori entry. Does it have something to do with Oakley on why JGR can't field that car? It's literally a JGR font. It's literally a JGR font on the car. So it's not even a Hattori font. It's a JGR 81 font. So I have to imagine that has something to do with Oakley and how they can't be affiliated with Joe Gibbs. But like I said, if you guys have not seen this car, it is absolutely gorgeous. Trust me, the spotters will have no problem finding this car. So, my race winning pick is Sammy Smith. I think that car is going to be unbeatable this weekend. Sammy Smith's a great road racer. The underdogs in this race, though, to watch out for, I would say. I do pick the Xfinity and Cup guys probably to be the best winners. I wouldn't count out Jack Wood. He's a pretty decent road racer. Wouldn't count out Todd Souza. He did win his only career win on the road courses. In general, don't even count out Dale Quarterly. Dale Quarterly, he's, like I said, he finished third. His strong suit is the road courses, so I wouldn't even count out Dale Quarterly. Not at all. The ARCA West Series Championship, unless something happens to the 17 this weekend, I would say the ARCA West Series Championship's all but wrapped up already because it's really hard to gain points in the ARCA Series. Once you're behind, it's hard to gain, especially when the car that's leading is arguably one of the more competitive entries. So, and the race itself, guys, unfortunately will not be televised live. It'll be live on Flow Sports Friday, June 9th at 5:30 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Eastern, or you can catch it on CNBC at a local or at a different time is what I was trying to say. But yeah, so I think it'll be a fun race. The ARCA West Series never disappoints at these road courses. It'll be a very, very fun race to watch. Again, like I said, it's why I wish the Xfinity race didn't exist because it's really, really fun watching these Cup guys go up against these ARCA West guys, a series that, everyone just writes off. And it's awesome. Absolutely awesome seeing these Cup guys go toe-to-toe with these West Series guys, and the West guys actually outrun them. That's the fun part about this race. And unfortunately, the Xfinity race, the unfortunate part about it is it's kind of gone down because of that. I think if the Xfinity series had not shown up, we probably would have a full field. Now, the full field for this race would be 32. And I bet we probably would have had a full field for this race had Xfinity not shown up. So, people can crap on the series all they want, but the ARCA West Series has definitely become more competitive. The main series is really competitive, but it's that E Series, man. The E Series has got to go or get better. I'll say that now. But the West Series is doing just fine. Main series is doing great. ARCA has definitely had a great couple years. That's for sure. And I'm happy to say that because, man, I'm telling you, in 2020, I didn't know if this podcast would even be here after 2020. I did not know if ARCA was still going to be here. So, The Kyle Sieg news, we will go over that on Backmarker Battles. But yes, obviously, Kyle Sieg's not Kyle Sieg has kind of been involved with some controversy with his own organization. So we'll get to that on Thursday. And yes, normally we do this show on a Thursday. I wanted to address that. My goal was to do this show on a Tuesday, but I don't usually get the entry list in time to do the show. So the key is I want to do the ARC Racing podcast on Tuesdays and then do Backmarker Battles on Thursdays. But when we don't get the entry list out, I can't do the show. So unfortunately, we have to flip them. That's why sometimes you'll see Backmarker Battles on Tuesdays and the ARC Racing podcast on Thursdays. But fortunately, we're able to get the entry list, and do the show tonight, which means on Thursday at 7 p.m. live Central Time, I will be here with Backmarker Battles covering Portland and Gateway. So don't miss that. It'll be a lot of fun. Well, you guys have a great rest of your Thursday night. We have kind of gone through everything. So don't forget to turn on that bell for notifications. Leave a like on the video on this podcast, please. It'd be nice if we could get to at least 10 to 15 likes on the show. And have a great rest of your night, guys. I will see you live on Thursday night. Colby Evans, Start and Park Car, signing off. So long, guys.